There's a real lean and fake lean. Most people, unfortunately, fake it. What I mean by that, they don't really develop people. They don't really go and take the lean approach. It's a culture. It's a way of changing culture. You have to start seeing through a different lens.
Today, I am excited to welcome Alen Ganic back to the show. Now, Alan's been on the show a few times, and I've known Alen for many, many years. Alen actually now does work for Gemba Academy as one of our senior coaches. And so today we really sort of, it was a wide-ranging conversation. We kind of kicked things off talking just about some of maybe some misconceptions about lean and continuous improvement. And then we really just naturally navigated. In fact, we didn't even have a plan to do this, but I just sort of took it the direction of really getting into the people side of lean and maybe like the human behavioral side of lean and when things maybe aren't going well. Because many times, lean is hard, continuous improvement is hard, and sometimes things don't always go smoothly. So I wanted to pick Alan's brain on what he does and what some of his techniques are if he's maybe interacting with someone who maybe they were originally on board a little bit with this thing called continuous improvement, but then for whatever reason, they're like, nah, man, they're losing interest or they're just not doing well. Like, what do you do in those tough situations? And so again, Alan's got an incredible amount of experience with many, many, many years of on the Gemba work with lean. And so his wisdom is profound. So show notes can be found over at gembapodcast.com. Look for episode 583. Again, gembapodcast.com. Look for episode 583. Okay, enough from me. Let's get to the show. Alen, welcome back to the show. How's it going?
Thank you, Ron. It's going very well.
Yeah, well, it's always nice to, we are recording this here in Gemba Academy studio, and so it's always fun to do these in-person interviews, man. I appreciate you coming in. So, well, Alen, you've been on the show a number of times, and you know the drill. We like to get things started with our guest sharing a quote. So what do you got?
All right, I'm going to share a quote from Jeff Liker. He's an author of Toyota Way. Mm-hmm. I really like this quote, especially for this episode today. Respect for people means developing them. It means challenging them to improve and supporting them as they grow.
What's that mean to you?
Well, this really aligns what lean really is developing people, make them understand lean, and have them be able to improve themselves. So the leadership role is really developing people and give them the ability to learn and grow. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. Well, Alen, in case folks didn't catch you on our previous episodes, tell us a little bit about your background and maybe how you got involved with this company called Gemba Academy.
That's a good one. So yes, I'll start with the background a little bit. I know some people that have listened before to the podcast, they probably know, and I apologize for keep repeating. But I have about 25 years of experience in lean, and I started in automotive industry in manufacturing, where I have learned lean on the floor for about 2 years with senseis. I've done lean in manufacturing, government for 14 and a half years, and that's how I got to know Gemba Academy. When we were looking for someone, I had to train many people at once, like hundreds of people, you know, and I just couldn't produce enough content. Back then, we didn't have all these great YouTube videos, and we were searching for something that can give me a content that I can use for my training. And we picked 3 companies, and among those 3 companies was Gemba Academy. And the reason why we picked Gemba is because of the content that Gemba had. Video content was really professionally done. We loved that. And first time we received it from Gemba was on DVD. And shortly after, you guys switched to the online version, which we really liked much more. But DVD was fine. Back then, everybody had DVD players, and that's how we trained everybody. And then the other content that we liked about is quizzes. You want to test somebody's knowledge, not really to pass or fail, but to test as you facilitator, so you want to see, did you do a good job explaining everything or not? And if everybody feels on a certain question, that means you as a facility need to clarify a little bit more. And so that's how I got to know Gamba Academy. We selected you guys. And Steve Kane, who was with Gamba Academy, came and visited us and did Gamba Live with us. So we became a Gamba Academy customer. He did a Gamba Live. He was really, really impressed with some of the work the City of Grand Rapids has done regarding to lean. And then that's where I found out from Steve about Paul Akers. He remember saying to me, Alen, you know Paul Akers? I said, no. He said, you remind me of Paul Akers. I said, who's this guy? You know, he said, you got to, get his book, 2 Second Lean. And so that's how we started relationship with Gamba Academy. And now recently, for almost a year now, in a week is going to be a year with Gamba Academy. I joined Gamba Academy. There was a position open to be a Lean Six Sigma coach, and I'm really never planned that, but I'm really blessed and grateful to have the ability to be part of this great team. Yeah,
well, we love having you, man. You mentioned DVDs, and oh my gosh, I'll tell a little story. I don't know if we've ever publicly shared this. I hope I don't get in trouble by it. I'm on the owner, so I'm gonna fire myself.
Exactly.
but in the early days of Gamba Academy, I'm talking about early days. Okay, we didn't have this big, beautiful studio that you see now, and the studio was the original studio of Gamba Academy was a spare bedroom in my house.
Wow.
Yeah, and you mentioned DVDs. I was the DVD producer. I had bought this tower to where you could burn DVDs, like you put the master one on top, and then you can load, 5 or 6 blank ones in the little trays below, and then you hit the button or whatever, the software, and you'd burn DVDs. Well, every course we made, we had to, put on these DVDs. And so when people would buy them, it was just in time manufacturing. And I'd be up there I'd be creating the content, because I was also the guy in all the videos, and I was writing the videos, all the scripts and everything. And so as I'm burning DVDs throughout the day and packaging them up, and maybe I hired my kids a little bit. They didn't get paid, I don't think. But man, we remember the binders?
Yes, binder, huge binder.
Huge binder. And we just slid them in the little plastic sleeve there. Oh my gosh, that brings back memories. But,
it was the best thing back then. It was a high quality. We really liked it. We moved from VHS to DVDs.
Yeah.
So DVDs was cool, right? Back then. And then when you guys came online, was even better, much easier, right?
Wow, so good. All right. Well, hey, I want to kind of jump in. Obviously you got a really deep, strong lean background, and when we think about lean, we often immediately, and it's not wrong, but we often immediately think of manufacturing, lean manufacturing, right? That's sort of the two sides of a coin, right? For many people. But for you, I'm wondering, how would you define lean at its core?
That's a great question. So I'm going to go back to the manufacturing, why people think lean is for manufacturing, because that's where it started initially. It started initially, and if you pick one of these older books, from 70s, 80s, maybe 90s, they talk mostly about manufacturing.
Yeah.
That's where lean was born. However, shortly after, that changed. People figured out that lean can be applied anywhere, right? And people found out what lean really was about. It's not about manufacturing. It's not about manufacturing process improvement. What lean really meant and what lean really is a culture, number one. That's an organizational culture. You have to think differently. And then another thing is lean is all about respect for people. And what that means is that everybody has to respect. So managers have to respect their employees and get their input when they have problems and they're searching for solutions. Why? Doesn't matter what environment they're in. People that do the job every single day, what people figure out, are the biggest experts. But just because somebody's a boss, manager, has a nice degree, doesn't mean he's the expert, doesn't make him expert. So people figure that out in healthcare, for example, environment. We have so many customers right now They're doing a great job. I'm so impressed with them and their accomplishment in healthcare, government. We were just speaking about City Grand Rapids. So that's one pillar, one most important pillar that I loved, and why I fell in love with Lean is respect for people. So that's the main pillar for me. The other one is continuous improvement. Doesn't matter if there's a process. If you're a student and listening right now, you can improve the way you organize your homework, the way you take notes during the class. Lean can teach you that, and I've been teaching them my kids. I'm teaching my kids improvement kata, coaching kata, for example. Okay, they're college students and working these jobs, pizza shops and other places, but they're learning and applying in those jobs and while they're going to college and in school. So it can be applied anywhere. So that's why there's a assumption the people that are new, that's all manufacturing. We don't create widgets. We process patients, or we're government, we issue this and that. It can be applied anywhere.
Yeah. You have value you're trying to provide for the world.
Yes.
Right? And everyone can really back into the value. If they have no value, then what are you doing?
Exactly.
Right? So, but assuming you have some value that you're giving to the world, how can we do that as efficiently and seamlessly as possible?
Correct. And everybody has a customer. Doesn't matter if it's internal customer or external customer. We all have customers.
Yep.
And we have to see things from customer perspective and do what's best for the customer. And that's now respect for the customer.
Yeah. I always say that Lean knows no boundary. Humans no boundaries. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we are the problem.
Yes.
I found the problem and he's I.
Yes.
Right? As the Fogo said.
Yes, it's me.
Yeah. So, I know one of the things I love about you, Alen, is that you have this gift of being able to sort of communicate really complicated things in really simple terms and just a really an approachable manner. And I'm wondering, like, I would be curious to get like your perspective on that. Like, how did you learn that? Like, or has it sort of been natural for you to be able to explain maybe complicated things to people in a way that they can understand? Because that's like, it really is one of your gifts that I've noticed over the years, even before you came to Gemba Academy.
Thank you. And nobody ever told me that. I really appreciate that. One of the things about me, I really care about people. It's just my nature. It's not something that I strive to do, but it's my nature. I love helping people. And I never liked the way of traditional management. When I went to school, you have to follow procedures. Procedures are written to be followed. If you get in a leadership role, you follow these steps, and it's all mechanical. I never loved that. And I done it because I want to be a leader. All my life when I was a kid, I always wanted to lead, and I was always wanting to be a leader. I didn't know where, but lead something, lead people, work with people. And then when Lean got introduced to me, I really fell in love. I said, this is really about people. I wrote a post on LinkedIn about this gentleman, Carlos, who was the CEO of Magna International or Magna Donnelly back then. And he changed my view. And he's really the reason why I fell in with Lean. When consultants came, sensei's teaching me this, okay, he's like a teacher. I'm just going to learn, get by, learn, and move on, right? That was my idea. I didn't think I would be doing what I was doing today. But Carlos really changed me. He was an older gentleman, retired from Ford, well-known in Ford. He retired and came to help us out because we were a struggling company. And when I learned Lean and started applying and working on Lean, I found out that these people use these terminologies, big words and all that, and people could not comprehend on the shop floor. They said, I don't know what this guy's talking about, using Lean terminologies, let's go to the Gemba. What is Gemba? What is he talking about, And then I started translating to people because I was trained, and I said, well, that's just the actual place where, that's where you work. Your press is your Gemba. My Gemba is my office, that person. And then, that's what it is, and start saying. And then I start saying that if you simplify to people, you're going to get a better buy-in. People are going to say, well, that's simple. That's really common sense. Thank you for simplifying this to me or explaining this in a simpler way. And that's why I try, even during the Lean Practitioner program, try to simplify to our candidates that are going through and not use terminology that they might not understand right away. They might later, they will. But simply, simple language that people can understand. Always set yourself to the level that people can understand you.
you coach a lot of people here at Gamba Academy, but also even before Gamba Academy. I mean, thousands of people, I'm sure, over the years have been coached by you. Talk a little bit about your style of coaching, in particular, when you're maybe well, okay, let's do the tough one. You got what we call the cave person, the citizen against virtually everything. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We've all interacted with cave people,
yes,
right?
Yes.
What do you do when you're introduced to someone and you can tell, man, they're not interested in this, and they're almost just the negativity is pouring out of them? What do you do?
Okay, so I'm gonna use a real example for this one to answer this question.
Okay.
And it's about a gentleman that calls himself Caveman. I kid you not. He has a different name. He has a real name.
Okay.
But everybody in company says, do not call him by his real name. Call him Caveman. He wants to be called Caveman. So we called him Caveman. So Caveman was a gentleman, one of the best employees at this organization, but he got stuck in his way of doing things. He would never change. And this is something that people told me, work with others, stay away from Caveman. And this is, when I heard that, I believe in people. I believe people can change. People sometimes say he's stubborn. We introduce other things to him. He doesn't want to listen. He's stuck his own way. But we keep him because he's a good man. He's a good man. He's a good employee. He does job like no one else can do.
Yeah.
And what we did with this gentleman is I tried, when I got introduced to him, of course, he's going to oppose me. Who are you? You're from the office. You're the leadership management. I don't need you here. I know how to run this business. You don't know. Have you ever welded? No, I didn't. Okay, so I don't think I can benefit from you. So what I found out in this particular case is what bugs him. So when I implemented hourly boards, okay, throughout the whole one line, not the whole facility, just one line, I wanted to introduce what hourly boards can do to leadership
like
and
hour
to the
by hour,
hour by hour.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
They never had hour by hour.
Yeah.
So, and we talked in previous recordings where I spoke about are we winning, losing, and you had same experience. So, I was introducing that first. That was the first thing introducing to this organization, and this gentleman just would not fill out his numbers, And then he started complaining to me. So we start talking, him and I, and he started complaining to me how every single day he has to wait for material to arrive for him to be able to do his job. He gets his job done every day, but he wastes 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours just waiting for material, and then he rushes to get the things done. He said, I accomplish it because I'm good at it. But he said, I feel tired at the end of the day. I don't want to rush every single day. So that was his problem. So one of my approaches is find out what bugs those folks. Find out what bugs people, and don't give up. Don't give up on people. Just because somebody said, well, this guy is close to retirement, which I had another case, 2 gentlemen working for me in the warehouse, and I said, well, he's close to retirement, I don't think you're going to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Don't give up on people. Mm-hmm. Number 2, be real. When you talk to people, show them really that you are there to help them, that they can see that this is not just for the organization, for the company. I really want to help you. So I built a relationship over time with this gentleman. I said, listen, I want to help you, but you got to help me too. I'm new at this organization, and I am trying to introduce something to you. I really need a champion for this hour bar board. Nobody wants to do it. Everybody says, well, we're busy building things. We don't have time for this to grab a, marker and every hour go out there. And we forget, we're busy. I understand that they didn't have those habits, right? And I said, I need your help. He said, well, if you help me, I'll help you. I said, what's your problem? He said, Alen, come in tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, stand here with me, and don't say a word to anyone. Wait and watch with me how long it takes till they prepare all the kits and parts for me, and then come back at the end of the day and see if I got it done or not. And I did. So I listened to him. I said, I'll take your advice. I will not say anything to anyone. So I came. Guess what? 2+ hours. He didn't have all the components so he can build what he needed to build. And then he rushed. And then at the end of the day, I came to see him. I said, Caveman, how you doing, man? Did you get it all done? We talked about it. He said, yep, all done, man. Go and check. And he showed me the board. He said, look at your board. And I looked at my board, and he filled out, And then I said, then he started saying, okay, that was the first initial one. Then he started saying, I still have issues. He still kept complaining about leadership. People always blame someone. And I said, hey, Caveman, it's not, this lean thing, it's not about blaming people. We all people. We all have jobs, Let's see really what's wrong with the process, And then I said, what I need you to do, can you start writing with this? I'm going to give you this red dry erase marker. Every time you stop production for whatever reason, I need you to write down how long you were down in minutes and what was the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he said, I'm waiting for work orders. For supervisor to bring me work orders, 20 minutes. Okay. Next hour I would come around. He said, I'm waiting for such and such particular part. And that's how I started getting information, and I started relating this to leadership. I said, leadership, I need your help. We had these like production meetings here in the morning. Yeah. And I brought it up and I said, hey, this gentleman is struggling and here's the issue. So that's kind of my approach when it comes engaging people, especially those that are really opposed to change.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, in most cases, I mean, you'll have some exceptions, but in most cases, it's been my experience that people just aren't heard, you know?
Yes.
Now, they also have to speak,
yes.
But sometimes they try and they get sort of brushed off. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll never try again,
yes.
you know, because they were hurt them, you know, and they're upset them and all the rest of it. They don't like that feeling, mm-hmm. right? As a human being, you don't like that feeling. So you don't want to do that again. You don't want to be exposed to that pain again, right? So
yes.
yeah, if you think about lean and continuous improvement and just human behavior, I mean, it's a very sensitive process, you know, because it is human beings interacting with one another, yes. right? And there's so much division already mm-hmm. in our world.
Yes.
Right, left, you know, all the rest
yes.
of it, you know, and
yep.
then now we're trying to be lean,
yes.
you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's tricky.
And then we got, you want me to work with that person?
Yeah.
We're going to work as a team?
Yeah. You know who they voted for or whatever,
yes.
you know? And it's like, golly, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough, man. It can be tough. I'm wondering then, not to be negative, but, you know, unfortunately, there are some organizations that lose their way with lean or continuous improvement, Six Sigma, whatever it might be. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on what we can do to bring them back, and if they do come back, like, why do you think that is?
That's a great question. We can write a book about that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you some quick points on that. Why people lose taste for lean. Because it was introduced to them incorrectly. It was introduced to them as a project. It was introduced maybe to them to make him look good for a little bit, to elevate a leader. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to bring some consultants. We're going to make some beautiful things.
Went to a conference.
Yes, I went to a conference, and this is great.
Yeah.
Hey, can you do this in 6 months? I'll pay you X amount of money, get it done 6 months, put nice posters and all that. So that's one of the reasons why many companies here in the United States and all over the world are losing, because they're faking it. There's a real lean and fake lean. And most people, unfortunately, fake it. What I mean by that, they don't really develop people. They don't really go and take the lean approach. We have great consultants. When I was a consultant, this is one of the hardest jobs I think ever had in my life. I'd rather work in backyard and dig holes and stuff like that. It's very difficult. You have to be political. You have to be knowledgeable.
Yeah.
You have to know how to build teams and all that. And they'll sometimes pressure these folks to do something in a very short period of time. Like, this is a magic. It's not a magic. It's a culture. It's a way of changing culture. You have to start seeing through a different lens. Right, and you can't do things that you have been doing. And then people treat it as a project. Hey, I only have this. Hey, can we do this? And they see improvements. You improve something. You work with a team. You do a Kaizen event on a line. And let's say a cycle time and on-time delivery was a problem, and you fix that. Mm-hmm. And they celebrate, which is great. They celebrate, acknowledge people. But then they said, we're making good money now. We don't need this lean anymore. Let's just keep doing, The other thing that I've noticed over the years, people think the lean is to eliminate people, to eliminate positions. I need lean, because I want to cut a head count. People would say, I need to cut my head count about 25%. So I need you here. So that's, as we know, all in the lean community, lean is not about eliminating people. It is about...
That's when Gemba Academy gives that customer their money back and says, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's another problem. It's not about eliminating people. It's eliminating waste in the process.
Yeah.
And we have processes. The other thing is also, it's not only for manufacturing. It's not a micromanagement system. Lean is a system of a teamwork. respect for people, managers respect employees, employees respect managers in return, right? Building that kind of a culture where employee can feel comfortable telling their manager, I disagree with this idea. I think I have a better idea than you. For example, Ron suggested my boss something. He said, hey, Ron, this is great, but I think I would take maybe a different approach. I feel comfortable coming to you and say, you're right. This is better. Let's go with Alan's idea or vice versa. And I used to have lead teams and like that. And I said, if you want to know if you're a good leader or not, a lean leader, have a meeting and have somebody from outside to define who the leader is in the room. You have to be on the same level, take those titles off when you work on the problem solutions and all that. And that's what some people make mistakes, They think it's a tool. They think lean is a tool. They think lean is 5S, Kaizen, all these buzzwords, really mapping, A3. That's what lean is. They think they learned a few things and said, we are a lean organization. But the culture hasn't changed. And if a culture does not change, you will not sustain. And then you're going to start believing, well, this thing really doesn't work.
Last question I have for you, Alen. I know in your role here at Gamba Academy, you're coaching a lot of people, and you've mentioned it a few times already, but I don't know what percentage, but a decent percentage of the candidates that come through Gamba Academy aren't in manufacturing.
Correct.
They work in a more of a service organization, maybe a hospital, something, an office, something like this. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you're seeing lean, Six Sigma, just continuous improvement in general, being applied in these non-manufacturing Gembas.
Yeah. So more, probably around 50%, if not more.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And then on manufacturing. They are in office environment, corporate offices. They're in healthcare. We have so many from healthcare. I know John is coaching somebody in government here locally, someone. So we have people that are probably 50%, they're not in manufacturing anymore. Why? Because people see that lean really works. They go to sites and do these Gamba walks and these tours, and they see how they're benefiting from it. The reason why it's picking off now outside of manufacturing, of course, you can always use, and it's been used for many years. That's where it started. But what people seeing, for example, in healthcare, and I was so impressed about some of my candidates, I hope they listen to this podcast today, about the improvement they made. So their leadership last year went through the Lean Practitioner Program. 2 leaders from this organization. It's a healthcare environment. They have many offices, many offices. And they were leading, these 2 leaders were leading all these offices, overseeing them. They went through Lean Practitioner and they fell in love with Lean. Okay. And they fell in love with Lean because they benefited so much from learning Lean, practicing Lean. Our Lean Practitioner is not just learn Lean and then take a quiz.
Yeah.
You have to demonstrate. You got to do the job. Doesn't matter what position you are. Yeah, you're the highest person at the company. You still have to do the job to learn and to feel it. And they've done that. And they have done a great job. Okay. And I was so proud of these 2 individuals. So they sent us 8 additional people from the organization. So we really love it. We want to pass this Lean virus throughout the entire organization. So they keep sending us more now, people. So these ladies yesterday, when they presented to me, they said, Alen, do you remember when you worked with this individual, and during this course, seeing waste? I said, I coach hundreds of people, every year. It's hard to remember, but can you show me? And I said, oh yeah, I do remember when they showed me the area.
Yeah.
They said, we improved our boss's idea. We followed this for about almost a year now since he graduated from Gamba Academy. And we now made it even better.
Oh, wait. So the boss went through the program, and part of their certification was to make this area better.
Yes.
And now their colleagues came through and made
challenged the
same
boss.
area. Oh, wow.
So they were laughing, and they presented this to this gentleman, and then they presented to me, and they took a video. They said, boss, this is what you had, and you improved.
Yeah.
This gentleman improved a big time. He was standing in a circle, so we were teaching and going over staying in a circle, and he was improving something about supply area and all that. And now his team going through this made it even better. And they took a video. So I said, well, I don't remember anyone taking videos before and after. Here's the before, after, they kind of simulated and how long it took. And then they said, after we made improvement and eliminated waste of waiting and transportation, here's the new process. And I said, wow, what improvement, So that was a cool story. So
wow, that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate all you do here, Alen. I mean, you're so passionate and so good at what you do. So very thankful to have you on our team. maybe to wrap things up, I don't know if you have any sort of final words of wisdom or some parting thoughts that you want to leave with everyone.
Yes. If you're new to Lean or you're just starting with Lean, what I would highly recommend to you, what I recommend to my candidates going through Lean Practitioner program, is think Lean about people. Try to solve problems for people. And along the way, as you're trying to solve problems for people, learn these tools. Lean has some great tools. Lean is a big toolbox with many tools. Like a plumber has a toolbox with tools that plumbers use. Just buying that toolbox will not make you a good plumber, okay? Just because you have that toolbox. Like, I'm not a plumber. But if you learn how to solve problems and you learn how to utilize those tools, you can become a good plumber as well.
Yeah.
And same in Lean, First, start from what you're trying to solve. Don't just try something to improve just to impress someone. Try really to improve something to help an individual. And along the way, as you try to help this individual, reach out to people of knowledge. If you don't have enough knowledge in Lean, what could I do? And then start learning, reading, attending some courses and stuff like that. And then start applying that. You will find a joy in that. The person that you helped is going to appreciate you. And you're going to start this Lean culture. That's how Lean culture starts, usually when you help people and remove roadblocks for people. That's my final thought.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hey, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way, Alen?
I love LinkedIn. Every day I check LinkedIn, so that's the best way.
Okay, we'll get everything linked up on the show notes here so everybody to scroll down. And if you're not already connected with Alen, please go and do that. So, all right. Well, hey, man, I know you got some coaching candidates probably to go jump on the phone with.
Yes,
so
I do.
I'll let you go and appreciate you coming on again.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thanks for listening. Whether you've been on the continuous improvement journey for many years, or perhaps you're just getting started, Gemba Academy is here to support you. And while we're best known for our more than 1,500 Lean and Six Sigma teaching and virtual tour videos, we also have a team of experienced Lean and Six Sigma practitioners available for one-on-one coaching, as well as a variety of Lean and Six Sigma certification options. To learn more and to schedule a demo, head on over to gembaacademy.com.